It is the 41st millennium. Mankind battles for survival across the universe, besieged on all fronts by the heretic, the mutant, and the alien. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. One faction of Space Marines stands amidst the chaos, the mightiest of the Emperor's warriors, and a beacon of light in the darkness. This legion, the 9th Legion of Adeptus Astartes, the Blood Angels. Hello guys, good evening. Hello everybody, how are you? This is a slightly earlier time, 8:30. The show's probably going to be 8:30 till 9:30 for the next little while. I need to get to bed earlier, to be honest, on a Sunday night, so we're going to start earlier. We're going to end earlier, so just put this in your calendar. We're going to try and do 8:30 for a few weeks, see how it goes. Fighter, what's happening? Good evening. Jim, hello, how you doing? I get 4 lists to look at tonight, and I want to make a tier list for Blood Angels for 10th edition. I'm not making it yet, because I feel like there needs to be another balance patch. I think Life RPG just said it in the chat. Eldari are possibly too good. GSC are possibly too good. Knights are possibly too good. So I think there needs to be another balance patch before we jump into a tier list. So if anyone's waiting for the tier list, I've not forgotten about it. I want to do it. I'm just not doing it yet because I don't want to do it and then find everything has changed. Life RPG went 3 wins, 3 losses at GT this weekend. Well, congrats, dude. You went into Eldari, Custodes twice, Chaos Knights, Orcs, Tau. Yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty tough, actually. Cool, so if you enjoy tonight's show, the Sunday show, please always hit the like button. It does help out ever so much. Let's get straight into it then. The first list was submitted by Luke Chalk 5308. Everybody's names on YouTube come up really strange in the comments now with this like @ symbol. So hopefully people know who we're talking about. This is a Gladiatus list for 2,000 points. I was going to say, he only has 1 character? Okay, so he's only got 1 character, and it's Mephiston. I guess there is no war gear options on Mephiston. I think Mephiston might be okay as a character, but I think he probably needs to be attached to Assault Intercessors and Dedicated Transports and Impulsor. I think this is all for Mephiston. If you are going to send me an army list in the future, it would be cool if you could just take 2 seconds and write who, like in this case, Mephiston probably only has this 1 option he can attach to, unless he's got Sternguard, for example, which I don't think he does. But if you have like multiple characters that have multiple squads they could attach to, do me a favour and just write like 2 sentences at the end of the list you submit telling me who's attached to who, so I'm not sitting here guessing like an idiot. That would be most helpful. He's got double Ballistus Dreadnought, which is interesting. I don't know if you caught my live stream yesterday, but I made a double Ballistus Dreadnought. Here's one. It's a pretty cool model. I sprayed 1 of them. I don't think I'm going to rush out and get 2 of them. But I can't really comment on the Ballistus Dreadnought. I haven't tried it yet. 170 points. I was thinking about it, and I'm not sure it rate, like, it's 30 points more than an Armiger. And I was trying to think how it rates up against an Armiger. Like, is it as good as an Armiger? I think Armigers are just too damn cheap. 140 points for Armigers. Ballistus. Armigers are Melta 4 as well, which is crazy. The Las Cannon strength 12. I wasn't sure about the crack. Okay, the crack strength 10. Yeah, that's not too bad. If this was strength 9, I wouldn't be loving it. But I guess the crack being strength 10 is not so bad. Bit annoying, it's just D6 though. And D6 damage notoriously is unreliable, isn't it? 5 attacks on the armoured feet, but no AP, strength 7. I guess that means they're okay for tank shock. Armigers are too cheap and Dreadnoughts are too expensive. You've got the same toughness as an Armiger. You've got 1 better on the armour save. You get the same wounds. You've got half the OC value. Yeah, it's. I'm building a list this week, and I'm finding it really hard to not want to put a couple of Armigers into it. But anyway, these are long-range fire support models. I haven't tested one myself yet. But on paper, I guess, because you get to reroll hits against targets that are not below half strength, I guess in the first few turns you're rerolling all your hits on the missile launchers and the las cannons, which I guess is not bad if you think about like you want to shoot this at non-Oath of Moment targets. Same as the Gladiator Lancer. You're going to be shooting the Gladiator Lancer at non-Oath of Moment targets. So this just gives you a little bit of reliability into non-Oath of Moment targets. I'm going to test one of these guys in the next few weeks. Double Ballistus Dreadnought, okay? Contemptor Dreadnought with the multi-melta. I think if I was going to run the Contemptor, I would run the multi-melta. I don't rate the Assault Cannon at all. The Contemptor obviously has a weird mechanic where on a 2-up, it comes back to life. It's a pretty cool mechanic, I guess. So with D6 wounds remaining, so the second the enemy kills it, it can come back. Pretty cool. The Death Company Dreadnought, I was going to run one this week. I think if you're going to run a Death Company Dreadnought, I like the idea of running double Heavy Flamer because it gives you, like, you kill infantry with a double Heavy Flamer, you kill vehicles with its melee. But I guess a melt gun is fine. We've got Plasma Inceptors, which is cool because you can deep strike within 3 inches. We have a Librarian Dreadnought and a Redemptor Dreadnought. I'm unsure how the Librarian Dreadnought works on this list, actually, because why do you need it? You have literally 1 squad of infantry. So what's your Librarian Dreadnought going to do? I think the Librarian Dreadnought here is maybe not needed. I guess if he's taking it for the Feel No Pain, could be okay, but yeah, I don't think you're going to get much value out of the Librarian Dreadnought in this list. You've got a Redemptor. Redemptors, I think, are super overcosted at the moment. I have a Redemptor, and it died in 1 single shot the other night. 12 mortal wounds straight into it, and it was just dead. Yeah. I think Redemptors are crazy overcosted. 225 points. The Plasma doesn't kill vehicles anymore. Like, you have extra shots in the Plasma, but your Plasmas are super unreliable into vehicles now. So the Redemptor, to me, used to be an anti-tank Dreadnought, both in shooting and melee, and now it's really not in shooting. And I guess if you're not in Sons of Sanguinius Detachment, which he's not, I wouldn't say it's that good in melee. It's going to get, like, I was going to say, I'm guessing. I better not guess. It's going to get 4 attacks, 5 attacks. Maybe it gets 5. Redemptor gets 5 attacks. Okay. Considering this fist used to be D3 plus 3 at -3 or -4. I don't know. I think Redemptors are not good at the moment. I have 3 of them. I thought before 10th edition I would be fielding 3 of them on. I'm not fielding any, I don't know. But I get, like, he's leading heavily into armor. I just think tanks are more cost effective than Dreadnoughts right now. Like, a lot more cost effective. Like, imagine you took this list up against an enemy player with, like, 3 Gladiator Lancers. Every turn he's just going to blow 3 of your Dreadnoughts off the board, and because Gladiator Lancers are like -4 EP, you're saving on 6s with those Dreadnoughts. Maybe 5s if you can get cover. Maybe 4s if you play Armor of Contempt. And that's, you know, the Lancers outrange all this shit as well. Maybe not the Ballistus Dreadnought, but everything else gets crazily outranged. Yeah, they actually outrange the Ballistus Dreadnought by 24 inches as well, damn. Okay, and then you've got Knight Errant. I don't know the Knight Errant profile off the top of my head. Let me pull it up. Life says he thinks the Redemptors are overcosted. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. If you're going to take the Librarian Dreadnought, I found Assault Tunes are clutch. Yeah, I think if you're going to take Librarian Dreadnought, you're going to need to have more than 1 squad of infantry. Like, that's the whole point to have them, right? Like, there's almost no point to have them if you're not building infantry Imperial Knights. Yeah, okay, so the Errant is the one with... This model is equipped with a thermal cannon and a Reaper chainsword. The thermal cannon is 2d3 shots, so an average of 4. Blast, Melta 6. Melta 6, that's crazy. Strength 12 minus 4d6, so the thermal cannon is crazy, just crazy anti-tank, I guess. Each time this model makes a ranged attack against the closest enemy, add 1 to the hit roll. While this model affected by a bondsman ability, well, it won't be affected by a bondsman ability because it's in a Blood Angels detachment. And the Reaper chainsword is 4 attacks at strength 14 minus 4, 6 damage, or 12 attacks, strength 9 minus 3, 2 damage. I mean, I like toughness 12 units. I think they're very difficult to shift in the current meta. I've been running a repulsor, which I think is pretty good. I guess this guy is double the cost of the repulsor, but like, it feels like he's probably going to do a lot more damage than a repulsor, just because like, you're just going to walk him straight in. Melt a 6. You just need one Melta shot to go through of an average of 4, which also is Melta strength 12 minus 4. A couple of those go through, and you're talking like minimum like 18 damage. You kill anything really, any armor with one. And if you make the enemy the closest, yeah, I mean, an errant's not bad at all. The chainsword is horrific actually. Like into a marine army, this kills like, I don't know, like let's say you were fighting like Sangre Guard or something like with that. Well, you would have like, on average, Sangre Guard are -1 to hit, -1 to wound. So what you wound on, you wound on 4, so you make 6 hits. Sorry, you hit on 4s, you make 6 hits. You wound on 3s, you have to save at -3. Really high AP on a sweep actually, -3. Probably averages like 3 dead Sangre Guard from just the chainsword. Sangre Guard are probably a bad example though, because no one's running them. If you were fighting like something else like Death Company or something like that, you're probably averaging like 6 to 8 Death Company dead. Do you have access to Knight stratagems if you run the Blood Angels attachment? You do not. That's the kicker. There's a very Dreadnought focused list. I think like, you got the right idea with this list. Who is this list by? This list was by Luke. He has the right idea. I guess the tricky thing is, Dreadnoughts are really expensive, like really, really expensive. We got 29 people watching. We only got 4 likes on the stream, guys. Hit me up with some more likes. What was your question, Todd? Can anyone tell me if Gladiator Lancer is the... Gladiator Lancers only get 1 reroll of hit, wound, or damage, or is it Knight rule they get to reroll all? They can reroll 1 hit, 1 wound, 1 damage per turn. So you roll 2 hits on your main cannon, you miss 1, you reroll that one. You roll 2 wounds, because you now hit twice, you fail to wound once, you reroll that again. Then you roll your damage roll, and then you reroll 1 from that as well. So it's basically 3 rerolls every time they fire. Bear in mind, Todd, for your Gladiator Lancer's main cannon, if you hit, like if you hit every shot from the main cannon and you wound every shot and you get good damage roll, it doesn't say you can't use that wound roll on one of the other crappier guns. Just shoot your main cannon first and use your rerolls on it if you need to. But any reroll you don't use on your main cannon, use it on one of the other guns. I think this list will actually do okay. Like, I think it might... I was going to say it might struggle a tiny bit against hordes, but it might not, because I guess the Redemptor could kill... I think Librarian Dreadnought's not needed here. I don't understand the reason behind him, in that your Inceptors will most likely be in Deep Strike, Mephisto and there's also Intercessors and the Impulsor, so the Librarian Dreadnought, I would swap him out for... Honestly, is this 2,000 points exactly? Yeah, damn it. Or is this 1965 points? If you've got 35 points, then I would add the Exaction squad, because that's really good for 35 points. I'd honestly swap out the Librarian Dreadnought for a Gladiator Lancer or something like that. If you're dead set on Dreads, swap out for a Ironclad Dreadnought, and then the Ironclad Dreadnought's only 150 points. There's 35 points. There's an Exaction squad. You've got another squad that can do OC stuff, that can be in reserve, etc., etc., etc. The Librarian Dreadnought's 5-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds and psychic is great and would work well with other dreads. I mean, I suppose, I think if that's your plan, if you're trying to keep the dreadnoughts alive, then I honestly wonder, would you not just be better at having a tech marine? Because a tech marine also gives some of those dreadnoughts +1 to hit. Redemptor could use +1 to hit. The ballistices could definitely use +1 to hit. I don't think this is an optimized list, but I think it's okay. I think dreadnoughts all can probably come down 20 or 30% in points, or tanks need to go up 20 or 30%, somewhere in the middle. Because to me, no one's fielding dreadnoughts, everyone's fielding tanks. It tells me tanks are undercosted, dreadnoughts are too expensive. The cool thing about putting double heavy flamer on the Death Company dreadnought, and I didn't realize that till this week, is if the enemy shoot your Death Company if the enemy, you charge in with your Death Company dreadnought, do your fighting, the second you're attacked back, you can fight again in combat if you wanted to. But let's say let's say you dived into combat with like a 5-man squad and you killed 4 of them. Rather than wasting your attack back on that one single guy, you could then shoot both your heavy flamers out of combat at another squad. Like it says, the ruling on the Death Company dreadnought, I didn't realize that, was there's so many little nuances. I'm not sure, but because you can shoot out of combat now and there's no penalty to do that, well, there won't be any penalty because you have flamers. Each time an enemy unit targets this model, so basically after the enemy attacks you in combat, let's say you charge a squad of 5 intercessors and you kill 4 of them, and all that's left is like 1 intercessor with like a combat weapon who's going to do no damage to you. When he attacks you, then you can shoot as if at your shooting phase, because it said this model can either shoot or fight. So at that point you could just say, alright, well I'm just going to shoot both heavy flamers, 2d6 heavy flamers, into your other infantry squad just out of like consolidation range that it wouldn't be able to consolidate into. And I think that's why I like double heavy flamer on the Death Company dreadnought. I don't know if it's good. I've not tried it yet. I'm going to run Death Company dreadnought this week, and I actually have mine modelled with double heavy flamer. I had him modelled with a heavy flamer and a meltagun, and I ripped the meltagun arm off him last edition because for Overwatch. I wanted my Death Company dreadnought to be able to Overwatch and not get bogged down in combat. So like Overwatch anything that's charging in, like melee-wise, that's just trying to bog me down, etc. Alright, next list today is by Nicholas Matti. I'm just going to say Matileo. Don't know. He has Lamartes and Tycho as his 2 characters. We have Assault Intercessor Squad as the battle line unit. Since I guess they're not attaching to Tycho or Lamartes because you don't attach to them. We have a Ball Predator, which I think the Ball Predator is good right now. I think I would not run it with the heavy flamers. I think I would put the Ball Flamestorm Cannon on it and 2 heavy bolters, if you ask me. But some people are running it with all heavy flamers. I can understand both ways, but I think if it was me, I'd run heavy bolters and the Flamestorm Cannon. We got a Death Company Dread with double heavy flamer, and obviously you want the Magna Grapple in there for sure. You got the 10 Death Company Marines with Infernal Pistols and jump packs. I assume they're with Tycho. You have 5 Death Company. You have another 10 with 5 Infernal Pistols, 5 Power Fists, and 5 Thunderhammers. I almost see no reason to run Thunderhammers now. I get that you do mortal wounds in some situations, but I think the -1 to hit you take in every situation outweighs the odd time you get some mortal wounds. So I think like it's really disappointing because I've just, I finished making a bunch of Death Company with Death Company with Thunderhammers, and now they kind of have to be benched because I just think if you come into an enemy that's making you -1 to hit on those Thunderhammers, they lose all the reliability and they become almost useless. And Nucking says Ironclads are neat. Slam 2 Hunter Killer missiles into something just for the lols if you run into. Yeah, Ironclads are reasonably pointed. I feel like they're the only dreadnought that's reasonably pointed. The Ironclad. It's 150 points. It's still like arguably one of the best in terms of like its melee profile, right? Because it's like you can access the Seismic Hammer, which is D6 plus 2, which is crazy. Strength 14 minus 3. The thing about the Death Company Dreadnought is you can give it 2 melee weapons. So you can give it like the combat weapon and the Seismic Hammer, and then you can choose. Obviously, he gets to add +1 to hit and the wound roll. So you would hit on 2s, and you pretty much wound on 2s if you're fighting against fortifications. A lot of people have mentioned like anti-vehicle 3-up. Anti-vehicle 3-up on a strength 12 chain fist almost seems redundant. I guess against toughness 12, it's not redundant, but to me, it's a bit of a weird one, right? So I guess on the Ironclad Dreadnought, you definitely want a combat weapon, I feel like. And then it's almost like choose the Seismic Hammer or the Chain Fist. It used to always be the Chain Fist, but now I think the Seismic Hammer might be the cool way to run it. So you'd have a Stormbolter, a combat weapon, a Seismic Hammer, and a Meltagun. And obviously you can flip some of those. It's weird that this guy's 150 points, because he is toughness 10. All the other firstborn dreadnoughts like this are toughness 9. So he got an extra point of toughness, which is significant. There's a big difference between toughness 9 and toughness 10, I think. It means like a bunch of those missiles only wound on 4s rather than 3s, for example. Stuff like the Ballistic Dread missile, the Crack missile, the Super Crack missile launchers, the Desolators. They're all strength 10. So there is a significant difference between toughness 9 and 10, I think. He also has the grenades keyword, I guess, if you put the assault launchers on him. He can probably do a lot of mortal wounds, actually. If you've got some command points for the Ironclad Dreadnought, you can probably do a lot. I don't know why he's really good at 150 points. And he got smoke launchers, because the Librarian Dreadnought's got smoke launchers on top of him, but they don't have smoke in the keyword. All right, we've got Gladiator Lancer. It'd be surprising if most of the lists at the moment don't have Gladiator Lancers. We have a Hellblaster squad, 5 Hellblasters. I was going to say, I don't know if they're going in a transport or something. It doesn't look like there's a transport for them. So you got 5 Hellblasters. You've got 3 Inceptors. You've got 5 Incursors. You've got the Scout Snipers. You've got a Suppressor squad, interesting, and you've got the Whirlwind. This feels like a ton of infantry. Which is, I guess, I was going to say 300 points of armor plus the Lancer. The Lancer and the Whirlwind. 700 points of armor. This will be a tough list to win games on. I've ran 10-man Death Company, and they get mopped up in the shooting phase. I even ran them with Lamartes and lost all of them in a single round. Like, I think it was one round of my opponent. I had them all in combat, so arguably he couldn't even shoot them with models that he wasn't in combat with. And I lost basically all 10 of them in a single round of in a single turn, I guess. Even with the -1 damage and the feel no pain from Lamartes. It's sad with 2 melee weapons that Ironclads don't get twin linked. Yeah, they used to get +1 to hit. I think +1 to wound and +1 to hit on the Ironclad is pretty great, though, into monsters and vehicles and fortifications. Everyone's running vehicles. So you just know on your Ironclad, let's say you took the combat weapon, you're going to get 5 attacks, hitting on 2s, probably wounding on 2s. The only time you're not wounding on 2s is if they're toughness 12 or above. So like a toughness 10 tank, you're wounding on 2s. I guess the Seismic Hammer, you're hitting on 2s, you're pretty much wounding on 2s again, unless you're up against something that's toughness 14. You're wounding on 2s. So yeah, it's not many hits, but it's hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s. Tough to save, and then a ton of damage if it goes through. Yeah, Ironclad is probably if I was going to run one of the firstborn dreadnoughts beyond, like, I think the Death Company dreadnought's pretty interesting because you can do the whole reserve 7-inch deep strike charge, and I think there's quite a lot of strength in that. But if I wasn't going to run the Death Company dreadnought, if I was running a firstborn one, I'd then run the Librarian one, assuming I had a lot of infantry. But if I don't have a lot of infantry, I think it would be Ironclad. Grenades and then tank shock. Yeah, I mean, grenades plus tank shock is almost like 8 or 9 mortal wounds, but yeah, it's going to cost you a couple of CP, I guess. Good evening, Eternal Crusader. Run normal Death Company reams with Plasma Pistol. Losing one guy is only beneficial because you get sustained hits 1 if one dies. Oh, that's interesting, I guess. The thing is, not many people run Death Company without jump packs. I think the strength of the Death Company is the jump packs. Yeah. I think this list is too infantry heavy. I don't like 10-man squads of guys. There's too much, at least in the games I've played, that feels like there's too much blast and it's too hard to hide 10. And if you go back, right, no one ran 10 before because 10 was super inefficient. People are only running 10 now because they think, oh, I have to attach a character, but when I attach a character, I get the most benefit out of a 10-man squad. But in practice, what that means is you end up with these 10-man squads that don't make logistical sense on the battlefield, right? An example of that would be like, if you had 7 Sangre Guard and you think, go back in edition, I need to kill... I always used to fight Sisters of Battle. They always used to have Morgenval, and you used to be like 7 Sangre Guard pretty much always killed Morgenval. I'd say 90% of the time they killed Morgenval in one round of combat. So I would jump a 7 Sangre Guard in, which I guess was 210 points, because there were 30 points per model. I would kill Morgenval, but then on the return, I'd probably expect to lose all 7. Maybe in a situation I get lucky and I have a couple left, but most of the time I lose all 7, but it's usually worth it, because that turns off like all the rerolls, the hits and wound rerolls for the whole Sisters army. Morgenval's like a linchpin, and also possibly that's their warlord as well, so there's multiple reasons to kill her. So you used to be able to do that for 210 points, and it wasn't such a huge loss if you lost all 7, right? Whereas now, if you wanted to run like 10 guys, in this case, like 10 is 310 points. Yes, maybe you can jump in, play Red Rampage, use Oath of Moment, and kill something, but then you've got 310 points sitting out in the middle of the open. And the interesting thing now is it's much, much more difficult to consolidate. Like, if you kill a model, or if you kill an enemy unit in the open, you can't just consolidate into a piece of cover. That doesn't exist anymore. That rule is gone. The only time you can consolidate is if an enemy is within engagement range, or within like 4 inches, because you would consolidate 3 or 3.99 inches away, or you can get on an objective. So an objective is like 3 inches away. If you're fighting something that's not on an objective, then guess what? Your 10 Death Company, when they kill that thing and they kill a tank in the middle of the battlefield, they just have to stand in the fucking open. And I suppose you can play that stratagem like go to ground to get cover, and I suppose you could play Armor of Contempt, but are you really going to blow 2 CP and you're probably going to lose all 10 guys anyway? Yeah. Melee is very, very difficult to play. My opinion of this list is there's too much infantry, like 300, maybe even like well, I don't understand how you play the Hellblasters in this list. Because there's no transport for them, so they're just walking up the table. I actually don't mind suppressors. I want to try suppressors myself. -1 to hit on an enemy unit at like 48 inches of range is fine. But my experience having played Death Company in a few games is that they are not as good as you think they are on paper. Maybe if you use Oath of Moment, they can hit hard. Maybe if you use Red Rampage, they can hit hard. But then you have 310 points of models sitting in the middle of the open somewhere, and the enemy just mops them all up. They don't survive. It's funny, because they said this edition was less lethal. Well, it's not. Most games are getting... Most people are seeing, like, huge amounts of their army disappear in one turn. In the game I played Sisters this week, I lost, like, all the infantry I had in my list. Like, 700 points of infantry in one turn. Like, they're all gone. Every single one is gone, and it wasn't even close. Like, I think he had he killed them all, and then he started shooting the tanks again. So yeah, I feel like there's probably not enough anti-tank in this list either. I mean, you've got the Gladiator Lancer, and that's kind of it. I guess you've got Death Company with Infernal Pistols and Thunderhammers, but that means you're getting in close. I think against Knights, this could potentially just get wrecked. The other thing to say about Knights is Knights have a way of ignoring 1 AP on one of the big Knights and ignoring 1 damage. And that will completely ruin your Death Company Marines. So your Death Company Marines Thunderhammers, for example, will be AP 1 and 1 damage. And that Knight will have like 26 wounds. I'm not sure what strat that is or what the Warlord trait it is on the Knight, but did they say again on Monday it was a less lethal edition? It's not. have they played this edition? Because if you don't have a ton of armor on the board, you're dead in 2 turns this edition. Honestly. I played like 2 or 3 games. Like the first 2 or 3 games I played this edition, I had barely any armor. Like I think maybe the first game I had the Whirlwind and I was all melee. Then I played another list where I was all melee. And I had a whole army was dead in 2 turns. The only games that I've survived, well, the only games I've won and I've actually had units left at the end of the game. It's when I start my Blood Angels run 8 tanks. Turkey says, I'm starting to think Stu Black doesn't have his finger on the pulse right now. I've seen Stu at tournaments on BCP because he was playing like he was playing a successor chapter last year on BCP, or maybe it was earlier this year, 9th edition. But like the successor chapter he was playing was really bad. It had like, do you remember like Bolt or like? There was a successor chapter. I've got Codex Space Marine here, and there's a successor chapter from last edition. Bolt or fuselage. Each time a model makes a ranged attack with a bolt weapon, reroll a hit of 1. Like this is literally the worst successor chapter trait I think in the whole book. There can't be one that's worse than that. Maybe there's one that's worse than that, which is like the psychic one or something where you can reroll deny the witch test or something. But like it's literally one of the worst successor chapter traits. And he had a list where he just like had tons of bolters and he'd taken that. And I was thinking to myself, like, dude, you don't kill anything with bolters. Like, arguably Sanguinary Guard have the best bolters in the Angelus bolt gun, in that they were a bolter with -1 AP and you could advance and you had 18 inches and you had a jump pack and they don't kill, and they had 2 shots. They didn't kill anything, and they had +1 to hit and stuff, and usually full rerolls to hit, and they never killed anything. So why on earth would you pick that? I don't know. I mean, it's funny. I read the comment that said that they realized Blood Angels are in a bad position, and I was like, well, I'm not saying I'm not saying Blood Angels are in a good position, but I'm saying like you can get wins with Blood Angels. I've proved it the last 2 weeks. I've beat Imperial Guard. I've beat Sisters now, and the way you get wins with Blood Angels is you bring a shitload of armor. You still bring some infantry, which I've been doing, but you bring tons of armor because the game has become an armor battle, or for now, 10th edition, until they make some sort of drastic change, and I think they probably will make some sort of drastic change, because if they don't, then there's almost no reason to run. Infantry are just too vulnerable. Toughness 4 infantry, maybe even, yeah, I would say toughness 4 infantry are just far too weak at the moment. Like, you know, it's funny that they dropped Thunderhammers to like 2 damage, considering how difficult it is to get a guy with a Thunderhammer into combat, whereas they just left like Armigers with their 48-inch range. They actually put their autocannons up 2 points of strength as well, to like strength 9. I mean, other autocannons got buffed as well, but autocannons are brilliant right now. Like, that's why I was saying, like, suppressors, as much as everyone thinks suppressors probably suck, I was thinking, like, say you're fighting knights, because you will fight knights. In your shooting phase, you can make one enemy -1 to hit. Well, if you make a 700-point knight -1 to hit, so it's hitting on 4s rather than 3s, that might actually be pretty decent at 48 inches of range. And I mean, oh, they didn't get buffed. God damn it! Why are their autocannons only 2 damage and everybody else's autocannons are 3? Okay, suppressors, their damage sucks still. But like all these things with 3 damage and -1 AP, like you lose Terminators to friggin' autocannon fire, and it won't even be like it won't even be like, oh well, they need to fail 2 autocannons. No, it's each failed autocannon shot. I would actually be interested to know like what statistically that is. Like I've been saying for a while, like Armigers are way too cheap. Like way too cheap, right? Where is it? the Helverin. So you get 4 shots, strength 9, -1, 3 damage. Okay, so the thing about Armigers is they're insanely good against jump marines as well, because they get anti-fly 2 up. But I was going to say, so each Armiger gets 8 shots. You're normally going to probably hit on 3s, so you make like 6 hits. You wound on 2s, because they put the strength of this up from 7 to 9. So it used to be wound on 3s, now it's wound on 2s. So you probably have to take 5 saves from an Armiger. And yes, you will be saving Terminators on a 3-up, probably. But like 5 saves, you could potentially roll 2 or 3 ones. Well, you just lost 120 points of Terminators at 48 inches to a bloody Armiger. The Armiger only cost 120 points. It's tough, man. 3 damage on all these autocannons. It's tough. I feel like it's tough. I noticed as well the battle cannon on the knight is ridiculous. Like strength 10. I can't even remember how many shots it was, but it was disgusting. It's like 18 shots or something. Battle cannons just into infantry is horrific. I think it's on the Knight Warden, right? Was it the Warden? Maybe it's not. The rapid fire battle cannon is d6 plus 3 at 72 inches. So if you're within 36 inches, it's rapid fire, and the rapid fire is also d6 plus 3. So potentially on average, you're talking like 12 shots. If you get them buffed by a bondsman ability, which you probably will be most of the time, you add 1 to it. So it's 12 shots hitting on 2s. You'll wound infantry or even Terminators, toughness 5 Terminators on 2s. So you'll have to probably make like 8 or 9 3-up saves, and every failed save is a dead Terminator at 36 inches. Like, God. And that's only one of its guns. What else has this thing got? You know, like it's probably got quite a few other guns, right? It also has an Avenger Gatling cannon, which is another 18 shots. Again, you could have it hitting on 2s. It would wound on 3s. I don't know, that's like another 12 saves at -2 damage. Like, oh, God damn it. Knights are good. Knights are just really good right now. Infantry is in such a bad position. Like, they're going to have to take infantry down like 20 or 30% points. Or they're going to have to bump... Yeah, I mean, you can Armor of Contempt, and I've been using Armor of Contempt loads, Life RPG, but like, I've been using Armor of Contempt almost to the point of like, I literally have CP for nothing else, because I just feel like I have to Armor of Contempt all the time. That's why I'm trying 3 Predator Destructors. I'm running 2 Predator Destructors. I think they're really good. The Sisters of Battle Castigator tanks with the twin-linked autocannon gem are horrific. They're going to kill so... Like, I played Sisters of Battle this week. He had 3 Castigators. They're absolutely horrific into infantry. It was just disgusting. It just, like, after playing, like, against 1 round of shooting of those Castigators, I was just like, how can anyone run infantry right now? Adeptus Cerritas. Let's just look at Castigators to tell you why I think you can't run infantry. So he put all 3 of these in reserve, but each time this model makes an attack with its autocannons that target infantry, or you can reroll hit rolls. Each time this makes... So that's basically the thing he's looking at. So each time you make an attack with the autocannon is twin-linked. 4 attacks. So you'll probably hit 3 or 4 of them. You'll wound infantry on 2s or 3s. They're twin-linked. So you'll probably wound 3 or 4 of them. So realistically, you could have to make 4 saves from that Castigator. But it's rapid-fire force. So if you're in 24 inches, make 8 saves. So for each one of these, make 8 saves at -1, and every failed save is basically a dead Terminator or a dead anything with 3 wounds. And he had 3 of them, so you get a 24 saves at -1. So against like normal Space Marines who would save on 4s, well, you're potentially losing 12 Marines. And that's just from the main cannon. These things have other guns as well, right? They've got 3 heavy bolters as well. You know, so another 9 heavy bolter shots on top of that. Well, it wouldn't be 9 heavy bolter shots. It would be, if you run 3 of them, it's another 27 heavy bolters. So that would be about 18 hits into infantry again. That would be about 12 wounds. So 3 of these guys can kill 20 Space Marines in one turn. And I probably lost around, I think I lost around 20. I lost my whole command squad. I lost 10 Assault Marines. I lost 5 or 3 or 4 incursors. So yeah, I pretty much lost, one round of shooting, I lost 20 Marines to just 3 castigators. Well, 20 Marines is costing me like, how many points? The best part of like 600 points. One round of shooting. So if these things had stayed on the board for another round of shooting, I've lost 1,200 infantry, 1,200 points of infantry in 2 turns. How can you play infantry at the moment? I don't know. That's my opinion. You can tell me I'm wrong. I guess you can hide everything in cover, but that's much more difficult than you think it is when all these tanks can be put in reserve for free. Alright, so next list by Velween. We've got Commander Dante, we've got Lamartez, we've got Primaris Apothecary, we've got Primaris. Sorry, we've got a Sanguinary Priest with a jump back, we've got another Sanguinary Priest with a jump back, and we've got another Tech Marine. This is a lot of points of characters. Okay, so we've got Assault Squad with jump packs ×2. I assume like both priests are attaching to those. And then maybe Dante's attaching to one. We've got the Desolation Squad. Doesn't look maybe okay. So we've got the Apothecary with Bolter Discipline attached to Desolation Squad. That's actually a crazy good combo. This is a Gladiators list, and that is a crazy good combo. It's a lot of points, but the 10 guys with their indirect fire and they're bursting on 5s and 6s and their 10 crack missiles, I think it's actually really, really strong. It's possibly the best infantry we have. Just be wary if the enemy can see these infantry, they are just 2 wound Marines, they will get mopped up fairly quickly. So you almost have to hide them for a couple of turns, shoot indirect, and then be a bit more aggressive later in the game. We've got 2 Annihilators and we've got 2 Whirlwinds. I'm not sure about the logic behind 2 Whirlwinds. Whirlwinds are very much anti-infantry now. Strength 8 -1, 2 damage, or Strength 8 -2, 2 damage, something like that. But the thing that I'm seeing in my meta anyway is everybody is just now moving towards armor. Like loads of people are just like, yeah, I'm just going to run way more armor because infantry are trash. And I don't necessarily think infantry rules are trash. I just think that toughness 4 infantry are getting killed. Even toughness 5 infantry are just getting killed far too easily for the amount of points that you're spending on them. Through weight of fire from all the different vehicles and stuff. Bolter Discipline on a 10-man Desolation Squad is insane. You pay 1 CP to keep them in Devastator Doctor in all game, and you get about 5 hits / 4 shots with Castellan launchers, bunker stuff. The Desolation Marines with the Bolter Discipline are insane turkey, and they're also kind of insane on Overwatch. Because if you use Oath of Moment on like a big enemy target, I don't know, like I used Oath of Moment on like a Great Unclean one. And the Great Unclean one moved within 24 inches of my Desolator squad, and I was like, fine, I'm just going to shoot you with Overwatch. With all the rerolls you get from Oath of Moment, you get a bunch of 6s, which means a bunch of sustained hits and auto wounds, and you'll basically be able to kill like heavy arm, like pretty heavily You could kill monsters and vehicles with the Desolation Marines indirect fire with Bolter Discipline if you use Oath of Moment on that target. Like it's possible. It's crazy actually how many saves they'll still have to make. Podger said it would be good to go about how we can counter meta armies rather than just comparing our bad units to the most broken stuff, which is always going to be compressing. Well, I mean, it's simple, Podger. Run tanks, right? Like, if it felt super strange to me the last 2 weeks to run. My list had 2 Vindicators, 2 Predator Annihilators, a Rhino, a Repulsor, and a Gladiator Lancer. That was the 7 7 vehicles I had. Oh, I had a land speeder as well, so technically you could say I had 8 vehicles. But if you bring that many vehicles to the fight, you'll do absolutely fine. If you run Gladiatus, you'll actually be in a really, really good shape. And some people are a bit upset about that because they think like, well, is that really Blood Angels? Well, as far as I'm aware, it is Blood Angels because when I started playing Blood Angels, there was no Sangre Guard. I don't even think Death Company could take jump packs maybe in 2nd edition, or very start of 2nd edition they couldn't. And Blood Angels were very much a bolter discipline type faction. Yes, they've evolved a bit into this really high melee faction, but like, if you want to, I think if you want to win a tournament right now, or you want to do well in a tournament, you can't. You're going to have to take armor. Like, you're just going to have to. I wouldn't. Like, I had 790 points of infantry in my last list. This list has got a crazy amount of infantry in it. This list has probably about 1,400 points of infantry with a bunch of characters. And like, so I had 790 points of infantry in my list, and based on what I saw in my last game, I feel like that was actually too much infantry. 790 points of infantry. So I had basically 1,210 points of armor, and I think I'm going to move to 1,400 points of armor. Like, I think there is still play in infantry. Like, if you run into enemy infantry, then you will want infantry to deal with them. There's maybe like certain plays around there, you know, like your assault marines with the mortal wounds on the charge. They're very, very good. Because mortal wounds obviously just blow up anything. So there is some plays. Blade Guard have been performing really well for me, like small squads of Blade Guard to hold objectives, to just be reliable with that extra rerolls to hit. So there is some places where I think infantry are pretty useful. But I think if you want to run like just the old way of Blood Angels, then I lost, what was it, 5 games in a row or something. Like my first 5 games of 10th edition, I just lost all of them. Like, it wasn't even close in any of them. Like, I think the best game I had, I lost by about 20 points. One of the games I lost by, like, I barely even scored 20 points, honestly. Just got smashed off the table. My infantry units just dying left, right, and centre and not killing anything. Because everything's got crazy high toughness. That's why I think that I'm waiting to do I don't know if you catch the beginning of the video, but I said I'm waiting a little bit to do the tier list because I'm not entirely sure that Games Workshop are going to let this ride out. Like, because they're going to tank all their infantry sales. No one's going to want to buy infantry unless they nerf all the tanks like quite significantly, right? Like, they almost need to put tanks up to the same cost as like dreadnoughts, because we all sit here thinking dreadnoughts are overcosted. Well, I actually think possibly dreadnoughts are correctly costed, and tanks like the Gladiator Lancer are incorrectly costed. Like, they're 40 or 50 points too cheap. If you put all those up, then maybe you get back to a place where like infantry are pretty good. I think if I brought a bunch of tanks, then I would have just been mopped up by mortal wound spam and anti-armor weaponry. I mean, there is too many mortal wounds as well. I couldn't agree more. Life RPG. They lied. They said that there was going to be less mortal wounds. They 100% said there was going to be less mortal wounds this edition, and it feels like there's way more mortal wounds. Like, way more. Just anything can do. Like, knights as well, man. There was one where Miles had like a strength 24 knight. He's like, right, I get to roll 24 d6, and every 5 up is a mortal wound. And he can do that for free? Like, it doesn't even cost any stratagems? I'm like, okay, Miles, great. Like, don't even roll the dice, you just cap that at 6 mortal wounds. Because there's no way you're not rolling 6 5-ups from 24 dice, right? That's just stupid. Yeah, so this sort of list, I think, will struggle. I mean, it's got a decent... It's funny, actually. This, I think I'm not sure who Lamartis attaches to here. Like, Lamartis has no one to attach to. Lamartis can't attach to... he surely can't attach to Assault Marines, can he? I think Lamartis only attaches to Death Company, so I think maybe that's a mistake with his list. Yeah, so Lamartis doesn't... But I do think assault squads with jump packs are probably the best melee unit we can run right now because of the cost of them and the fact they do all the mortal wounds on the charging, and everything else struggles to wound armor, so mortal wounds are very, very good. I guess Dante plus a priest plus 10 jump marines is possibly okay. I think for me, I'm trying to make this cheap as I can, like assault marines plus a chaplain. The Desolation Squad, I've run them a couple of times. They are very good. I think they're a difficult unit to run though, because you end up pumping all your stratagems into them to make them good. Whereas I think you might be better with like just like, you know, like a Desolation Squad is about the same as like a couple of Vindicator tanks, which each get like strength 14 minus 3d6 damage. I think if I had to choose, I think the Vindicators are probably better just because they're toughness 11 and they have more wounds and they can move around a bit and they can sit on objectives and they can shoot in combat. But I do get Desolation Marines look really good on paper. I don't know much logic around Double Whirlwind. I do like Annihilators. I think Annihilators are pretty good. He hasn't mentioned what weapons. Oh, he has, sorry. The Twin Las Cannons. Okay, I think Annihilators are good for the price. I'd probably try and get a third one in here, actually, maybe. But I just I worry that this is too much infantry. But, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Valwyn can leave me a comment telling me that he's won loads of games with the list. Yeah, you should probably tell me how many games you're winning with these lists when you submit them at the moment, just because I don't really know how people are finding it. I just know that when I tried to run a lot of infantry, I was getting killed over and over. I watched GSC vs Eldar. They swapped table sides over the game and it ended in a draw. I think Eldar have like a 70% win rate, and I think GSC are like right behind them. So I don't know if we can really include those right now. Like I said, like I know that Games Workshop said that they were going to wait like 3 months before they put out more balance data slates or whatever, but like 3 months seems like a long time to leave people. This is what I didn't like in last edition, actually. Like Tyranids had like a 65% win rate for like 9 months. And then all they did was like change Leviathan to not be quite so good for transhuman, and then everyone just ran like Kraken or something instead. So I don't like it when they leave armies so overpowered and broken for so long. Like it's just like, to me, if you know, I'm obviously not Stu Black and it's not my place to say, but if I was looking at the numbers on a Monday morning going, Nids are winning 70% of the time, or in this case, GSC and Eldari are winning 70% of the time, I'd be like, right, someone go grab me the data from BCP and tell us why they're winning. Because you'll know why they're winning. The lists will all be similar, you know? Right, those are the target units that we need to fix. Because Miles, when he played Elder against me, literally wiped me off the board in like 2 turns again. Like my whole army's dead in 2 turns. And Miles' list only went up 20 points or something. Or I think it was 40 points when they changed the Eldar points. He wasn't using any of the shit that he wasn't using Wraith Guard or what was it? I forget the name. The ones that had all the mortal wound spam. He wasn't using any of that. There's just other stuff in Eldar where like a single aspect warrior can move like 30 inches across the board and just kill your whole squad of Desolation Marines. I mean, how can you counter that? The answer is you can't. I guess Fate Dice were a little bit more broken back then, but yeah. Yeah, send me over your list, Life RPG. We'll look at it. Okay, Daryl Jackson. This is going to be our final list for tonight. I think it's a Blood Angels list. I think he means he's going to play this as Gladius. I guess we'll see. Let's have a look at it. It's a Librarian Dreadnought, a Judicaur with Artificer armor, and 6 Blade Guard. You've got Dante with 5 Sanguinary Guard. Thank you for putting the units that are attached together like this, Daryl. This actually makes it much easier to see. We've got the Brutalis Dreadnought, we've got the Death Company Dreadnought, we've got Mephisto and Assault Intercessors, we've got the Tet Marine, and a couple of Redemptors with the Macroplasma and the Onslaught Gatling, and then we've got the Voidsman. Alright, this looks a lot like my first list for 9th edition, which did really badly. What was he saying? He's going to teleport the Judiciar and the Blade Guard into the center objective. He's going to teleport Dante and friends turn 2. He's not sure how best to deploy the Brutalis and Death Company Dreadnought. Death Company Dreadnought for sure should be in reserve. Mephisto and the Assault Intercessors are going to hang back, and the Tip Marine Redemptors stay back. The 2 macro are for long range, the Onslaught for deep strike counter. Yeah, I mean, this on paper is sort of what I was thinking would be a good Blood Angels list, right? I think the difference between my one was maybe like, I don't think I had the Tip Marine. I think I had Mephisto and an Impulsor. I don't think I had the Brutalis Dreadnought. I think I had the Gladiator Lancer in there or something like that, just because I knew the Gladiator Lancer was really good. But my experience with all of these things is Librarian Dreadnought's teleport is great, but wherever you put these guys, for me, Blade Guard have been the best unit in melee that I've seen for Space Marines. I think because they're cost effective, they're cheaper than Terminators. They have that 4-up in Van, they have 3 wounds, they have the buff to their save in combat or the buff to their damage in combat. I like Blade Guard a lot. I don't know if I would run 6 in a Judiciar. I think if I was running them, I'm going to be running them in smaller squads. But Dante and the Sanguine Guard, my opinion of them is they're too expensive. They don't do enough damage. They don't... Yes, I guess you're always going to have to use Red Rampage on them. So at that point, for me, it's almost like you'd be better using a captain to get the free Red Rampage every turn. Otherwise, you're blowing your CP on their Red Rampage every single turn. Because without Red Rampage, they don't do enough damage into like, even elite infantry, right? Like, you come into, let's say you fought Wraith. Eldar is a good example. They're strong right now, right? Wraith Guard or Wraith Blades. Well, they are toughness 7. So Sanguine Guard only wound them on 5s. Yuck. They also have a 2-up save, so even though you wound them on 5s, they save on 4s, and you need 2 failed saves to kill a single guy. So Sanguine Guard to me are way too expensive. They don't do enough damage. The Brutalis, I don't know how you run it. Like, you'd have to run across the board. I don't know if I feel like it might be okay until you fight up against someone else who's got a Gladiator Lancer, and then they one-shot it, basically, and at that point you'd just be better running your own Gladiator Lancers to fight fire with fire. The Redemptors don't kill armor anymore. Like, the whole point of Redemptors with the plasma cannons and Marine Army was to deal with enemy armor. Well, they don't deal with enemy armor anymore. Because you only wound enemy armor probably on 5s, whereas before you would wound it on 3s. So when you shift the number 2 point like that, you lose a ton of your damage. We've also lost a bunch of rerolls off of Redemptor Dreadnoughts. Used to be able to, with like Dante on the board, you used to be able to do full rerolls on one of them and hit on 2s from the Tech Marine reroll 1s. So Redemptor Dreadnoughts, although they have 1 extra shot, I have 3 Redemptors, and honestly, I don't want to run any of them. They're way too expensive, and they're not anti-armor anymore, which is the whole point of them. I mean, the Voidsmen are good. I get attaching Mephisto to Assault Intercessors is pretty cool. Mephisto gets to reroll 1s because of the Assault Intercessor buff. Reroll 1s to wound, that would be, and Mephisto can be Strength 10. So that's cool. The Death Company Dreadnought in reserve from 7-inch charge is cool. If you're going to teleport something, make sure it's a back of 6 Assault Centurions. How many people actually own 6 Assault Centurions knucking? I have no idea. GSC do not require good players to do well in GTs at the moment. Yeah, I mean, that's why I think there's going to have to be big changes, Turkey. I don't know why they're being so quiet about it. Like, I think the 10th edition rule set is pretty good, but I think the balance is terrible. I don't know. I don't want to kick up a fuss about the balance. Like I've obviously adapted my list, right? Like, I'm running 8 units of armor. I'm probably going to run 8 units of armor this week. Yes, it's not ideal, it's not what you would expect from Blood Angels, but it'll probably win me more games than running all the melee infantry. And yeah, like, this list is pretty much what I thought would be good in 10th edition. In reality, this isn't good at all. Like, if you can win a game with this list, then more power to you, because I tried variants of it and I didn't win a single game. I got destroyed in every game I tried something like this. Dante didn't perform well. The Sanguinary Guard didn't perform well for their points. The Librarian Dreadnought, I think, got one shot off the board in the game that I ran him, like a single long-range, like, Gladiator Lancer shot or something similar. I think it was it was Eldar, so it would have been a Bright Lance. He just got Bright Lance to death from like 36 inches or something. The Death Company Dreadnought did well. He killed the Knight. He was good. I'm going to run him again. The Brutalis, I can't figure... I ran one. It didn't... It charged a Knight. It did okay. It wasn't terrible, but the Meltas definitely don't do much against armor anymore. The Brutalis I need to try again, but I do think it's too expensive. Mephiston and the Assault Intercessors generally underperformed. I guess maybe I used them into the wrong target, but like, Mephiston used to be able to do damage into armor. I guess now he doesn't. Voidsman will score you points. I think one thing that I used to say is like, -1 damage. If we go back to 9th edition, when we played enemies that had -1 damage, we really, really struggled, because we felt like -1 damage on... If you didn't have enough basically, if you didn't have enough Thunder Hammers in your list, i.e. a melee weapon that did 3 damage, then you would really struggle. Like, you'd just really struggle, because -1 damage converts... It's a 50% drop to your damage. So I think, like, because we can't take anything with 3 damage, like, there's only 2 units... There's only 2 melee units that have 3 damage weapons, and that is Assault Centurions, which I think probably the best way to play them would be with Librarian Dreadnought and try and ping them around and make those 9-inch charges. Spoiler, if you're trying to make 9-inch charges, you're already kind of playing Hail Mary, right? Because, like, a 9-inch charge is not a good probability charge. If you've never used any dice, you can work things out with any dice. You just say output 2d6, at least 9. So a 9-inch charge is a 27% chance, right? If you roll 2d6 and you need at least 9, there's 27% chance. So all you need to do is like take 1 minus 0.2778 and then times that by that number, 0.2778, and add them together. So 9-inch charge, even with the reroll, is 47% chance. So if you're willing to teleport your Centurions up the board for 47% chance to make that 9-inch charge to kill an enemy, and let me a Librarian Dread's 195 points. The Centurions are going to be like 350 points. So that's going to cost you like 550 points. At that point, you could just have 3 Gladiator Lancers, all 70 inches away. And they're probably going to do more damage because they've got built-in hit and rerolls. Melee is in a tough spot, man. And I suppose there's a chance that the Centurions do 0 damage, right? Because you fail your charge. I don't know what Games Workshop were thinking, but it's really tough without any 3 damage melee weapon. Infantry are really, really vulnerable this edition, and because of that, more and more people are moving to armor, which in turn is just going to make it harder and harder and harder for people to do well with infantry. I think the Land Raiders are better delivery for the Centurions. Teleport charges are not going to work well. Good point, Turkey. I think for the extra 100 points a Land Raider is going to cost over the Librarian Dreadnought, I think if you want to run 6 Centurions, go for a Land Raider. Magna Grapple gives you with a reroll gives you an 81% charge. So that's I'm willing to put a Death Company Dreadnought in reserve for an 81% chance of charging. I feel like 8 out of 10 is reasonably decent, right? You can't fit 6 in a Land Raider? Oh my god, how many can you? Because they take up 3 each. So you can't even fit 6 in a Crusader. Ugh. This is why fixed squad sizes are terrible. You know, the fixed squad sizes is hurting infantry as much as the weapons are hurting infantry. Honestly. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't think melee was too strong in 8th and 9th edition. I think Blood Angels were pretty darn strong in 8th edition because you could almost guarantee charges. But in 9th edition, I don't think they were too strong. I want to say the reason that Blood Angels won LVO in the last year, or last year's LVO, was the terrain. It wasn't that melee was too strong. It was like the terrain was really favorable for a melee army. Because melee armies can win and die on terrain. Blood Angels have never had durability. The Crusader can take 5 in theory. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's really tough. Okay, send me your lists, guys, for next week. Send me if you're winning games with the list. I'd love to know who you're winning against, and I'd love to know who you're losing against. And I'd also love you to do something like this, where you do a quick edit on your list when you send it and show me who's paired with who, so it makes a little bit more sense. Because, like, if there was, I don't know, if there was different squads or something, it might be hard to know who's paired up with who. Especially in that last list, I think he had Lamartez, and I don't think Lamartez could attach to anyone, so it was a little bit confusing. But yeah, I'm going to keep doing tactics videos every week. I'm going to keep doing armor-based lists for now. If you guys want me to do a video where I break down my armor-based list, if that would be useful to people, like how I'm winning games in 10th edition running an armor-based list, I can make that video. I literally make it this week. I don't have a video idea for tomorrow yet, like finalized. So I can start working on that video tomorrow for release on Friday. So yeah, leave me a comment and submit your lists if you want me to have a look at them. I'm trying to play against more armies. Like, I'm trying to get more on the stream. But the thing is, the people that I'm playing at on the stream know how good armor is now. So anytime they build a list, they're going to build, I feel like, more armor. I think Colin even beat Andrew's Imperial Guard list with Death Guard now by, like, just bringing all the Death Guard armor. Like, I think he brought 3 Plague Burst Crawlers, 3 Mythitic, I can't say the word. The Blight Haulers. You know the one I'm trying to say, myth something Blight Haulers. I think they're called Mythitic. I can't say it right now. And I think he brought like a multiple Chaos Land Raiders. Like, I haven't seen Colin run a Chaos Land Raider in forever. Thank you, Turkey. So yeah, I think like Death Guard have a crazy low win rate, but if you just start taking a ton of armor, then suddenly everything has changed, because maybe you just need to break out of the mold that you've been in, which is the Blood Angels, and that's why I think Blood Angels melee can actually still be really good. Like, I do think it can be really good. We've done a bunch of maths on it, and we've seen that we can just about kill anything with the right unit in melee. The thing I think you need to do, though, is you need to have the strength and the amount of armor to back that up, where it's like, yes, I have this one melee unit that is very vulnerable but can do a lot of damage, but they'll be hiding until the right opportunity in the battle. And that's maybe where Land Raiders come in. That's like, I've been running a Repulsor the last couple of weeks, And I think 2 weeks ago, someone said to me, "Are you going to drop the repulsor?" It didn't seem like it did much in this battle, and I was like, "Well, what I actually did in that battle was it was a toughness 12 bullet magnet that survived for 2 turns and ate up a ton of enemy firepower." So I actually, like, they thought they'd watched the video, they'd watched the stream, and they thought, "Oh, the repulsor didn't do much." When I was playing the game, I was just seeing shot after shot after shot into a toughness 12 repulsor, and everything else in my army's going, "Cool, if you're shooting the repulsor is only 195 points. If you have to shoot like 5 or 6 units into it for 2 turns, then that's a huge win for me, you know." So I guess lots to think about. Like I said, the Army List show is going to start at 8:30 next week, so about an hour and 10 minutes before now. We're going to try that for a few weeks. We're going to see how it goes. Feel free to submit the list. You can just do it in the comments to this video. That would be the best place to put them. And yeah, this week I've got a new podcast episode coming out talking about Blood Angels as well. I think another thing to think about as well, I suppose, is like scout snipers. A lot of people have been saying scout snipers are really good. Anything that has lone operative and can hold objectives is also very, very powerful. So that's like one way that infantry can be crazy powerful. So there is places for infantry. I really think there is places. But I think, and maybe I'm, like my current list was 1,200 points armor. Maybe that's the right amount. But some people were saying like 1,000 points armor. I was like, I think you can probably go a little bit higher than 1,000 points. I need to get more games. I need to see what more people are playing into. If they didn't make Van Vets almost unplayable and they kept Power Fists, running them with the Jump Captain in the State of Sanguinius would be very good at Strength 10 Fists to give them Lance. Yeah, I mean, if there was... I don't know. They've made it so hard to do melee now, and they've reduced the melee damage and the melee strength, which I think in turn just really leans into the... I don't know. It's so weird, Jim. The thing that I keep thinking in my head is like, how much did 10th edition get tested? Because like, surely the people that were testing it were like, well, it's just armor warfare now. And unless that's what they want, maybe they want a 3 years where it's armor warfare and we all buy loads of tanks, and then they go back to infantry in 11th edition. We all buy loads of infantry, and it goes round and round. I don't know, but I feel like it's bad for the game to be like, like I don't think you would got like if you turned up in 9th edition with a full arm. Let's say you were playing Blood Angels and you went to a GT and you were a noob, right? So I'm a noob in 9th edition. I go to a GT and I bring 9 Predator tanks, because you can do that, 3 Annihilators, 3 Destructors, 3 Ball Predators, and I bring 3 Dreadnoughts, and I bring like a couple of squads of guys. I feel like I probably don't win many games. I'm not going to get slaughtered in every game. Right? I'm going to do okay. I'm not going to score that high. Maybe go like 2 for 4 or something, because maybe in a couple of matches people aren't really able to kill my armor very effectively, so I win those. Whereas I think now you could go to a tournament with like loads of infantry and you just come into an armor list where you can't damage any of the armor. It's all super cheap and you get absolutely slaughtered and you don't score any points. And I don't think that's a good experience for new players. Especially players that don't have tons of units to fall back on. I'm lucky. I've been doing Blood Angels for 20 years, right? And I was doing Blood Angels, like I said, before there was Sanguinary Guard, before you were allowed multiple squads of Death Company. So I'm lucky. Like, I've got loads of armor units. I can just pick up, like Vindicator tanks from 20 years ago and stuff. But a lot of people don't have that. I just think it's not the greatest situation. So anyway, that is it for this week, guys. Lionheart says no rush to wait for 10th. 10th is really fun. The rules are really good. I think the rules are really good. I just think that the balance needs fixed, and they probably can fix it with points. It's just going to be crazy. They're going to need to go through every armor unit and put it up 30%, or every melee unit or every infantry unit and put it down 30%. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how they're going to fix it. And that's the situation right now, I guess. But I think it does need fixed, unless we want to just play tank warfare for 3 years, which is fine, I guess. I mean, like I said, I'm not enjoying 10th edition. I am enjoying the game. I request that we take a break from GW's new edition and play a game of boarding actions on the channel. I feel that disappeared between the end of 9th and the launch of 10th. I do have the boarding action terrain, James. Let me see if we can find someone that wants to play some boarding action. I haven't even read the rules. I know that there was a new pamphlet for the rules. So maybe I could read. Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason we couldn't do some boarding action. I think most people do want to figure out how to win in 10th edition. But yeah, I mean, there's no reason we can't play a couple of games of boarding action sooner or later. I did spend like £500 commissioning the terrain, so I really should play it. Right? The terrain is in the. I did take it to the office, so it is in the room where we play games every Wednesday night. GSC and custodians need fundamental fixes. The rest can be handled with points. Yeah, I just don't know how long we're going to have to wait for those fixes. Hopefully not too long. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching tonight. Please leave a like if you didn't do that already. And then if you've got any lists you want to leave me or any comments, leave them down below and we'll get to it as soon as we can. I hope you guys have a great Sunday and a good weekend, and I'll catch you at some point this week, I'm sure. Take it easy.